Now, here is a little bit closer map, and it shows here where we are, high up in the mountains, in a tiny village in where there are never more than 140 people at any time in the year. The valley is surrounded on all sides by large mountains filled with iron, copper, sulfur, and quartz. Like this huge outcropping of quartz that a group of us sat on to have lunch one day this past August. These gigantic loaves of quartz were all over the mountains there. Back in 1982, many people were reporting mysterious lights, and on September 25, 1982, at 7:30 in the evening, engineer professor Erling Strand from Oslo was in Hessdalen to investigate because so many people had been reporting seeing all of these strange lights. Again, not structures, but lights that could glow with intensity, and some were being described as filling a valley with light. And as an engineer, he was baffled. What would be the energy source that could sustain over time that kind of intense lighting? To his amazement, he saw a large, bright white light that moved up above the hill, swinging right and left, and then beams emitted from the light, pulsing on and off for more than an hour. Professor Strand was determined to find out what the light was, and by 1984, he began a scientific investigation known as Project Hessdalen. To keep a constant surveillance on the valley, in August of 1998, he built what he calls an automatic measurement station on the side of a hill. The station now has 3 cameras which are triggered by certain frequencies of light events, and the cameras interface with computers inside the measurement station. The station now operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Here is Professor Erling Strand from Oslo standing next to the measurement station that he calls the Blue Box. He teaches at the School of Computer Science at Oxford College in Sarpsborg, south of Oslo. To date, the cameras at the Blue Box have recorded more than 100 light events, of which 79 remain unexplained, including this photograph of the orange-tinted object taken by the monitoring station cameras on October 9th, 1998 at 6:16 p.m. local time. Then on December 4th, 1999, a little more than a year later, a videotape camera caught 12 seconds of what the scientists call a thermal plasma of unknown origin doing the strangest dance across the sky I think you will have ever seen. And now we're going to play this videotape. It happens quickly, and we're going to continue on into a Discovery Channel excerpt with Professor Strand about his research. This is in the day, and watch over here. No one knows what this is, but this is what people see in the Hessdalen Valley of Norway. And it has the glowing characteristics of a plasma with a strange motion. And now we're going to go into this segment with Professor Strand, done for Norway Discovery Channel on his work. Sound up full.
Jeg har alltid vært nysgjerrig på ukjente ting, og ting som kanskje ikke så lett å forklare.
Oh, you can't read it. Strange and unexplained light.
Jeg heter Erling Strand og forsker på UFO-fenomenet I Hessdalen.
UFO phenomena in Hessdalen.
I begynnelsen så ville ikke
Originally,
folk
people did not
snakke
want
med
to talk
hverandre om
about
dette
it.
her. De tørte ikke.
They didn't dare. It was
Så
too
merkelig.
strange.
Den etablerte vitenskapen
The scientific
reagerte
establishment
jo
reacted
negativt på
negatively
disse observasjonene.
to these
De kom med
observations,
sine egne forklaringer
and they
uten
had
engang
their
å ha
own
vært i dalen. Da reiste jeg opp her for å kunne
expectations
se
without
dette
ever
her
visiting
selv.
the valley. And when I traveled up there, I was lucky that I saw it on my first day. It was a bright light, and it was up in the valley below. What surprised me the most was its intensity. That was when I knew that the local people were right. They had seen something unknown.
Da ingen etablerte
When
vitenskapsmenn
none of the
gjorde noe
established
forsøk på å finne
scientists
ut hva dette her var,
attempted to
så
find out what
startet
this
jeg og
was,
noen kolleger
some
vårt eget
colleagues and
prosjekt.
I started our own project.
Her har vi apparatet som
This apparatus controls the black and white camera, which monitors the appearance of unfamiliar lights.
Med det nye systemet kan vi ta
The new
opp og
system
beregne
enables us
avstand
to
via flere
calculate
kameraer.
distance.
Og ved to
Two
kameraer,
cameras function
akkurat som
like
du
a
har
pair of
to øyer,
eyes,
så kan du da beregne avstand.
which is how we measure distance.
I løpet av 3 år har
In
stasjonen
3 years, the
nærmere
station
100
has
observasjoner.
made nearly 100 observations.
Noen ganger er det som en gul
Sometimes it is like a yellow ball, a red light which moves irregularly,
blinkende blå
bringing
lys.
blinking blue
Det har
lights.
blitt målt med
They
en
have been
hastighet
measured
på
at speeds of up to
30.000
30,000 kilometers per hour.
I begynnelsen kalte alle dette her
At first,
UFO, men
everyone
det vi
called
har
them
sett så
UFOs,
langt
but
er
what we've
ukjente
seen so
lysfenomen.
far
Det
are
er
unknown
ennå ingen
phenomena.
teori
There
som
is
passer
still
med de
no
dataene
theory
vi har.
about what this data is that we have.
Jo mer jeg har holdt på med dette her,
The more I
jo mer
work on this
merkverdig har det
strange,
blitt.
the stranger it becomes.
Hvorfor gjør jeg dette her?
Why
Det
do
er
I
for å
do this?
bevise
To
for
prove to
vitenskapen at det
science that
virkelig
there
er
really
noe.
is something
Og det er for å
here,
gjøre det slik
and to
at det
make
er
it
tillatt
acceptable
for folk
to people to
å
talk
fortelle
about
sine
their
historier
experiences
uten å
without
bli
being
latterliggjort.
ridiculed. It's a familiar theme, isn't it? Well, end of that videotape. No. Everything is silent. It's another peculiarity in the crop fields as well as in Hessdalen and in Brazil and in other places. Some of the lights flash for only fractions of a second. Here is a time-lapse photograph taken overlooking the Hessdalen Valley by Dr. Massimo Teodorani, astrophysicist from the Institute of Radio Astronomy in Medicina, Italy. All those yellow-colored flecks are mysterious pulses of light that have been caught on this time-lapse frame that he and Italian colleagues and Erling Strand's Norwegian engineering team think hold the answers to a potential new energy source in plasma physics. That's what's keeping these guys going year after year. They think they're on the trail to something unexpected, unidentified, but that the thermal and light characteristics over time are suggesting that something has to be providing energy to these that is not understood and they think could be a key to something in the future. Other lights have moved and glowed for minutes, even up to 2 hours, leaving vivid red and yellow patterns in time-lapse photographs such as these, moving over the quartz, iron, sulfur, and copper mountains that surround Hessdalen. By August of 2000, Dr. Teodorani became so interested in Erling Strand's research data that he decided to study the Hessdalen lights the same way that he studies the optical spectra of stars. The first joint Norwegian and Italian projects in Hessdalen were in 2000 and 2001 and continued on in August of 2002 when I joined them. They used radio spectrum analyzers, photographs, videotape, and spectroscopes. The first analyses broke the light phenomena down into 2 groups. 95% of all of the light phenomena is thought to be what they call thermal plasmas of unknown origin, and 5% unidentified solid objects because of the returns that they have gotten on radar. And they are as puzzling to them as the thermal plasmas of unknown origin, because there is nothing about the glowing solid objects that seems to act the way we would think of anything that was an aerial craft. Again, these are generally small and they glow, but they know from the radar signature that in some of these there is something solid. And that was of interest to me because if you look at some of the videotapes over the past decade taken, let's say, in England, there was the one by Steve Alexander back at the beginning of the 90s in which the light is moving across a field and casting a shadow. And many people have said, well, if it's casting such a hard shadow as it's moving across the field, doesn't that suggest that there might be something solid amid that glowing light? The plasmas emit long-wave radio frequencies, and very oddly, their temperatures do not vary with change in size or brightness. This is the single greatest surprise of all the research. The thermal temperature remains constant over time as long as an hour, even though during that time the apparent size and brightness of the object changes. Quoting from Dr. Teodorani's 2001 research summary, quote, "We saw that those lights were changing shape suddenly from very big to very small, and the phenomenon was there standing still. But the temperature was constant because we measured the temperature in both phases. So there must be some kind of self-heating mechanism that keeps the temperature constant, and this is highly anomalous." Some general characteristics of the mysterious thermal plasmas are these. The light balls are not single objects. Here, 1, 2, 3. These are all appear to be a bundle, like grapes. They are constituted of many small components which are vibrating around a common center. And there was a videotape that was at Barbary Castle about 3 years ago in which, under close analysis, there seemed to be 2 balls that were closely doing this as it traveled, and then a third ball came up and passed them. The light balls are able to eject smaller light balls. The light balls change shape all of the time. The luminosity increase of the light balls is due to the increase of the radiating area. The mechanism for that increase is still not understood, but after his 2002 research this past year, Dr. Teodorani speculated the answer is in the multiplying numbers of light balls. But what causes the light balls to eject more luminous spheres and to increase in number and size, staying clustered, is still a mystery. Dr. Teodorani says, quote, "The cause and the physical mechanism with which radiation is emitted is currently unknown. Whatever is the cause which triggers the Hessdalen lights, there is a central force of unknown origin that is created. Thus, the main goal of our research group is to find out how these lights work in a physical sense." This past August of 2002, between the 5th and the 11th, I was invited to join Dr. Teodorani and Erling Strand in their 3rd year for the joint Italian and Norwegian project Hessdalen. We all stayed in a schoolhouse together that is in Hessdalen, and we had a ball there day, night. There seemed as if we moved into a timeless zone, because even at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was still sort of like 6 or 7 o'clock of twilight with the being so high north. And we'd come off of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock night watch and go back down to the school where we all stayed. And everybody would break out wine and sit up till like 4, and it still felt like we were in the afternoon talking about what had happened. And we just went on in this kind of endless days of searching after things and hardly ever sleeping. And the school is right down the road from this beautiful church, painted red like the barns and houses throughout the valley. It's a color that everybody calls Hessdalen red, and it makes the entire Hessdalen Valley look like something on a Christmas card. The roofs are made of grasses growing in soil that the residents claim are the most efficient heating and cooling roofs in the world. And here is Erling Strand, who is talking with Bjorn Borg and one of his friends from Oslo before we were getting ready to go set up some radar for the night. And we followed Erling Strand several times up into the big mountains where these big mounds of quartz, there were so many, made us all wonder, is there something about the geology of this area and the interaction perhaps with thunderstorms. There were none when we were there, but with thunderstorms that might set up some kind of electrical phenomena that interacts with all of this quartz and mineral-rich surrounding. In all of these mountains, in which you can see defined tree levels, and then all around 360 degrees, that is all these big, huge stone mountains, and there's nothing up there. There are no trails, there are no roads, there's no electricity, no structures. There's just these big, massive, hulking mountains that sit up above the tree line and the valley that is down below. We often wondered, are the mysterious lights in Hessdalen connected to these minerals in the geography? And that goes to the question that we've raised here in this room in previous conferences. Could limestone, for example, another kind of crystal that makes up the British Isles and Germany's Isle of Rügen and the U.S. regions as Missouri and Arkansas and Texas, where there are lights, are they linked again there to the geography? Is there something about what we'll call thermal plasmas of unknown origin that focus around or interact because of certain geographies on this planet? Are we dealing with a plasma physics that has escaped truly the attention of physicists, and how is that possible? And is the same plasma force involved in all of these different phenomena, from the Hessdalen Valley to worldwide crop formations to the puzzling lights that people have seen not only in Marfa, Texas, and Dover, Arkansas, but in Brazil, South America, and in many places around the world? And if so, why do many of these lights that may be plasmas react as if intelligent, or at least respond to changes in the environment around them, as Erling Strand and others have witnessed? And I'd like to share with you a brief excerpt from an interview that I did with Erling Strand in Hessdalen in August that is about his own firsthand experience that convinced him that the Hessdalen lights, whatever they are, act with intelligence. Let's have audio cut number 1.
We wanted to do a test with a laser. Well, the reason was that the people had told us that when they use a spotlight pointing towards the light, it disappears. And when we prepared a field investigation, which we ran back in '84, we instead of using this big spotlight, we use a laser instead, red laser, which wasn't so strong, but a flashing light was coming, and we pointed the laser towards it, and suddenly the flashing frequency doubled. And we was surprised because we hadn't expected that. So we took the laser down again, and the flashing became as it was before. And we took the laser up again, and the same thing happened. It doubled the frequency. 1 week later, there was a light that was seen around our feet, which was a red light, as if there was a laser pointing down on the snow. But there was no laser present at that time. So that was really strange.
And when you saw that light on the snow that seemed to resemble a laser, what went through your mind about the implications?
Well, it's a difficult question. It's the more you study, the more strange it is, and it's really strange. It's not easy to find one answer on what it can be, but I think we can learn a lot of it, and we can learn where come all the energy from, because you have stories when people tell the part of the valley has been illuminated in the middle of the night, and there must be a huge amount of energy. And where does all this energy come from? That's one question. And why does it dim the light when the airplane is moving? Why does it react on laser? Well, there's a lot of questions.
And now I want to share with you some scenes that I shot with my own Sony digital video camera in both natural light and night vision mode during my week in Hessdalen. And the night watches were devoted to the challenge of capturing these unpredictable appearances of these mysterious lights on cameras and with scientific instruments, knowing that they would probably appear, but never knowing exactly where, and my being shocked at how quickly it could appear and how intense it'd be. So let's go to the next video. The Hessdalen researchers drove up each night around 10 p.m. onto a hill above the valley famous for mysterious lights. Radar gear was set up by Dr. Stelio Montebignoli and his colleagues from Italy's Medicina Institute of Radio Astronomy. Telescopes, cameras, spectroscopic lenses, night vision video recorders, binoculars, and other gear were also assembled. The beautiful sunsets faded to bright twilight in the Norwegian summer sky, but there never was complete darkness so far north. The Hessdalen Valley has a small population, only about 140 people. Those residents use electric lights, burn fires, and drive tractors and cars. Sometimes those ordinary lights can confuse scientists searching for the unusual lights. But over the years, from this hilltop facing south, many people have seen the bright flashes. The August 2002 field trip had some surprises in the sky and behind us. During our second night on the hill, August 7th, astrophysicist Dr. Massimo Teodorani from Italy noticed a light flash on a far back mountain. As I turned my camera to see if the light would reappear, I was surprised to see a rapidly pulsing, sparkling light that lasted for several minutes and remained unidentified. It's like one of those flashes. By the fourth night, on August 9th, I was coming to understand how difficult it is to study a phenomenon as unpredictable as the sudden flare-up of the Hessdalen lights. There was frustration in hearing a voice yell about a light appearance, but not being able to get a camera or telescope on it before the light was gone again.
What are we looking at?
No, you want to chill first.
Over your head, Masha.
This night, Massimo had again seen a flare on the back mountain far beyond the Hessdalen Valley. Those mountains are not inhabited, and lights were flaring and pulsing above the sparse tree line.
Il fisso si muove che la
No,
fare.
si muove, come no?
Sopra. Un satellite. What are we looking at?
No, you want to chill.
The hill. Can you look across the valley?
A few minutes later, Massimo yelled again to look up.
We don't see it right
Aeroplano.
but it's been coming
No.
Is
Guarda
it
come va.
up there? Up above the mountain. I just saw it come in.
There's one overhead earlier.
Oh my God. The light was in the sky. This time I managed to pick up my camera and tripod fast enough to at least get some of the odd moving light on videotape.
I don't know.
The erratic motion is my holding the camera and tripod in the air, trying to focus on the light above us in night vision mode.
No, it's not a plane,
yes,
absolutely.
No! And Massimo, I was looking at the sky and it just
Yes, look, it's going up, another one.
The next night, on August 10th, Norwegian engineer Bjorn Hoag yelled out to us to look behind. As I rotated my camera around, I saw an extremely bright, pulsing light on the mountain next to us, a rugged mountain of bare rock. Bjorn, how did you see that? There it is. Got it. Got it.
Back again.
Yep. It's like fishing with your bare hand. Then I turned my camera back toward the Hessdalen Valley, and another light flared up on that back mountain again.
Yes, I got
Now, Here is a photograph taken by Dr. Teodoranyi of one of the mysterious lights that made up these multiple balls of the thermal plasmas of unknown origin. And one night we were talking about how they were baffled, especially by this ability of what they were getting from instruments of whatever this was to sustain a high temperature over time that defies what they know is possible in nature. And I'd like you to just hear a very interesting excerpt from Dr. Teodoranyi, a highly respected astronomer who has now been pushed to I'll call it a new level of thinking. And that's what he said. He said, I cannot help but wonder, could we be dealing with advanced intelligences so advanced that they take one of the more common properties of the universe, plasma, and they are able to program it with zeros and ones the way we are programming computers, but that they can keep these plasmas around on different planets to monitor and do work, moving, living, sustaining, but sustained by what? Here is Dr. Teodoranyi.